Hello, everybody. This is Pastor Willie, and this is the encouraging word for today. Nobody can live without food for very long. It's an essential ingredient in our life, so to speak. And nobody can live without hope for very long. Hope is just as essential to life as food is. And Satan, who is the destroyer, who hates God's people and hates anybody that doesn't serve him, targets our hope, seeks to destroy our hope, particularly in times of suffering. When you go through a time of suffering, Satan will attack you. Whatever the suffering is, a physical injury, a physical illness, a relationship issue, just suffering because of the situations in the world, whatever the suffering is, Satan will come after you. You can be sure, write that down. It will happen. Satan doesn't play fair. He attacks when you're weakest. He attacked Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. He attacked Jesus after fasting for 40 days. I've never fasted 40 days, but I imagine I'm depleted, totally depleted. And then Satan attacks his hope in God. And Satan will seek to steal, destroy your hope, which is an essential ingredient. The opposite of hope, the antonym, as they say, of hope is despair. The definition of despair is a complete loss of hope. Included in that is the idea of discouragement, of doubt, despair. You've lost all your hope. And nobody can live in despair for very long. We suffer and our hope is attacked. Is that fair? Of course it's not fair. But that's the way Satan is. So being forewarned is to be forearmed. Now, sometimes suffering reveals to us that we've placed our hope in the wrong place, in a place that's not a firm foundation. Maybe we placed our hope in a person. Maybe we placed our hope on a career or in a job or on our health, or even on a particular church or a particular ministry or a particular pastor. Our hope needs to be on a firmer foundation, the foundation of God. That is the firm place for our hope. So sometimes times of suffering reveal to us where our hope is. And God always uses times of suffering to get our hope in the right place on Him, where it will never be shaken. Now we still suffer, and Satan attacks our hope in God. So even if our firm foundation is God, we will still suffer, and then Satan attacks us and says things like, if God really loved you, if God really was on your side, if you really were one of His children, this would not be happening to you. Give up your faith and die. Give it up. It's not worth it. That's what Satan will say. But a verse that comes to my mind is in 1 Thessalonians 4:13, where Paul, talking about grief, which is a form of suffering, says, we do not grieve like those who have no hope. So we still suffer, we still grieve, we still feel things, but we still have hope in the midst of the grief, in the midst of the suffering. And in fact, God uses the suffering. God turns it around. What Satan intends for evil, God uses for good in our lives. God uses suffering to build our hope. Suffering is a tool, one of the tools in God's toolbox that he uses to develop us. Now, I would like it if I could become Christ-like at the snap of a fingers. Maybe a famous evangelist, I could go to them and they pray for me and boom, everything's, I have complete Christ-likeness, complete hope. Doesn't work like that. God doesn't work like that. God uses tools, and one of his tools is suffering. When we suffer, God does a deep work in us through the suffering. Doesn't mean it's pleasant. It's horrible. I've been there. I've gone through it. But in suffering, we develop hope. We understand Satan's going to attack, and that's where the battle is. The battleground is hope. And 2 Corinthians 6 through 7 says this: if we are distressed, it is for your comfort and salvation. If we are comforted, it is for your comfort, which produces in you patient endurance of the same sufferings we suffer. And our hope for you is firm, because we know that just as you share in our suffering, so also you share in our comfort. 3 powerful words there: patience, endurance, and hope. That's an equation. When suffering comes, we're patient. We endure patiently, and God produces hope, unshakable hope on the foundation of hope in God. Suffer, endure patiently, trusting in God, and our hope gets stronger and stronger, and Satan is defeated. His attack is defeated, and we become powerful followers of Jesus Christ. So review those verses today. Pray over those verses today. And remember, suffering will be used in your life to produce unshakable hope. God bless you, and I will see you again tomorrow.